Good afternoon, and welcome to Sadlier's webinar on Easing Your Mind with the Common Core. My name is Jeanine Ferrara, and I'm the Director of Product Management for all our math and tech digital products. Also with me today is Jillian Geiger. She is our Product Specialist. She'll be assisting me today with any questions you might have during the presentation or after the presentation. So before we begin, I just want to let you know that everyone's microphone, their audio, is on mute. So should you have any questions during my presentation or at the end of my presentation, I would really appreciate it if you would type your question in the chat box in your webinar navigation screen, and then Jillian and I will answer them at the end of the presentation. So let's begin. Today, the goal of our presentation is to show you how you are addressing the Common Core State Standards with the Progress in Mathematics program and our new companion programs that we've developed to support our Progress in Mathematics program. We want you to feel confident that you are addressing the Common Core State Standards. So I'm going to start off by talking about how solid Progress in Mathematics is, that it's a solid core mathematics program that you can count on. Before I actually came into the marketing department for Sadlier about a year and a half ago, I spent the majority of my career at Sadlier, 20 years, as the director of editorial in their math department, developing many Progress in Mathematics, I should say, editions over the past 18 years. And now with this new one, Progress in Mathematics, transitioning to the Common Core. And when I moved over to marketing, they asked me if I had to let our customers know what's the one thing that I would say about our program. And it really, honestly, has nothing to do with Common Core. It has nothing to do with the standards. It has to do with that it's a solid math program, that it's the pedagogy is a strong math pedagogy, that by the end of students using our program, kindergarten through 8th grade, our students will be fluent in mathematics in addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and that our students actually score 13 points higher on standardized tests, that we do have a solid math program. We do have that depth and breadth of math that everyone is looking for today. So I like to just start off with this saying that if you're teaching mathematics, the standards are automatic. So if we are teaching for conceptual understanding, then the standards should come automatic. And I think that one of the main reasons that our customers have been attracted to our program is the instructional design of Progress in Mathematics. The instructional design is such that it provides step-by-step detailed explanations of skills and concepts. It uses academic vocabulary. We use models. We use strategies when appropriate. So here's a lesson that I'm on my screen. It's a grade 3 lesson. It's on using mental math, and we know mental math is a big part of the Common Core State Standards because we want students to be fluent. It leads students to fluency, again, with the 4 operations, with the different number types. But I draw your attention to this lesson because this lesson is, mental math has always been part of the Progress in Mathematics philosophy, the pedagogy. Every lesson in the Teacher's Edition has a mental math exercise that we encourage our teachers and students to use at the beginning of every math class, again, to get students quickly and accurately computing mathematically. But here is, to me, this is like the epitome of Common Core right here, is where we're using strategies, and one of the strategies is break apart numbers, and we're associating this, we're associating place value, if you would, with the properties and the operation. So this is what Common Core is talking about, making connections within the grade level and across the grade level, making connections within the topics of mathematics and within a grade level and across the grade level. So here, this has always been a staple in, I should say, with Progress in Mathematics. It's one of my favorite strategies is to break apart numbers, and this strategy will definitely help help students lead to fluency. So what's different, though, about Common Core is that Common Core now wants teachers and students to use the standards for mathematical practice to help make the connection and understand the why behind the computation. So we need teachers to be able to help students make the connections. So that leads me to the next slide where we're talking about there are actually 3 entities of Common Core. They're the content standards, they're the standards for mathematical practice, and they're the shifts. So the content standards are what students should be able to do at the end of each grade level. And the standards for mathematical practice are what students should be thinking and doing while learning mathematics. So this is what Common Core is saying. These should be habits of minds. When students are problem solving, they should be automatically using these standards for mathematical practice when solving problems. It's really the thinking process. And then the other entity, the third entity I like to call it, is the shifts in math. And this is what should be happening in the curriculum in order to successfully implement Common Core. And these 3 entities, the standards, the practice standards, and the shifts, all 3 of them together will be feeding the assessments. So as with the adoption of the Common Core state standards, states had to choose which or how they would assess, I should say, the Common Core state standards. And they had a choice. They could choose to go with one of the 2 national consortiums, assessment consortiums, PARC or SMARTER, or they can choose to create their own quality assessments. So no matter which assessment consortium they choose, whether it is PARC, SMARTER, or they choose to use the Terra Nova Common Core editions, these 3 entities are all feeding the assessments, what students should be able to do, how students should reason about mathematics, and what students should be focusing on at each grade level. So here are the 8 standards for mathematical practice. They are common, kindergarten through 12th grade. So what's different at each grade level is that the content of mathematics and the way students should be thinking increases in complexity. But these standards are common, kindergarten through 12th grade. And what Common Core is saying is that these standards should permeate all instruction in the mathematics classroom. Again, they shouldn't be seen as a checklist. They shouldn't be seen as today I'm going to be modeling with mathematics, and tomorrow I'm going to be attending to precision, and maybe the next day I'm going to be looking for and making use of structure. Common Core is saying that we should be hitting not every one of these, but a group or a cluster of these in your mathematics lesson every day. So there's another way to look at these practice standards, because in the beginning when they first came out, the 8 standards, they were a little complex and I don't want to say difficult to understand, but I think the wording was such that gave some teachers pause as to what Common Core was really, what Common Core really means with these standards. So a professor by the name of William McCullum from the University of Arizona, and also one of the writers, the architects of the Math Common Core State Standards, created this document. And he said if we grouped them, they are easier for us to understand and think about. So he said, let's group 1 and 6. Let's group standards 1 and 6, make sense of problems and persevering solving them, and attending to precision. And let's group them and think of them as problem solving, and that we should be problem solving every day in our classroom. And then if you take the next 2, standards 2 and 3, and think about them as reasoning and explaining. Are you reasoning and explaining in your classroom every day? Are you modeling with mathematics and using appropriate tools? Group the next 2 and think of them as modeling and using tools. And then group the next 2, standards 7 and 8, look for and make use of structure, and look for and express regularity and repeated reasoning. Think about them as seeing structure and generalizing. And I think standards 7 and 8 give us the most pause as to what Common Core is thinking about. And I hope by the end of my presentation it becomes a little clearer to you what Common Core is looking for in through my examples with progress in mathematics. So what I did is I took several lessons from our program, and then I just identified which standards for mathematical, which standards of mathematical practice are we hitting, or are you addressing when teaching the lesson. So here's a grade 2 lesson where we begin with a word problem. And here's where we're hitting MP1, Mathematical Practice Standard number 1, where we want students to make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. So here's where Common Core is saying, slow down. Let's make sure every student understands what the problem is asking for. Make sure students can identify relevant and irrelevant information and identify what the question is asking. So here we're hitting MP1, make sense of problems. And then through our step-by-step presentation, we're solving the problems by modeling with mathematics. Now, modeling mathematics is not only with concrete objects. We need to think and help our students think about modeling mathematics is also modeling with words, modeling with numbers, modeling with pictorial representations, diagrams, and tables, and etc. So here we're modeling how to solve the problem step by step using numbers, and then we're using place value models. And then we're also using the correct academic vocabulary in solving the problems. As you see, where this is placed in a tens and ones frame, and then when we add the ones, when it says when the direction says to add the ones, you see here that it says 14 ones equal 110 4 ones. So that academic vocabulary is used in solving the problem. And what Common Core is saying is that it's no longer acceptable. We don't want to accept that 7 plus 7 is 14 and just be satisfied with that. We need to make sure that students understand that 7 plus 7 is 7 ones plus 7 ones, which equals 14 ones. And 14 ones equals 110 4 ones. So when students have to start to explain their reasoning and their thinking on the new assessments, the new state assessments, this is the language and the academic vocabulary and the explanation that Common Core is expecting our students to use. So it's here on the student page, but we just need our students to be able to make connections. Make connections from the word problem to the numbers, to the place value models, to place value, another topic in mathematics. So right now we're teaching the addition algorithm, but we need to connect it to place value. So again, using the correct academic vocabulary is attending to precision. Also, answering the problem in a complete sentence. Here, we answer every problem beginning in the primary grades in kindergarten. Rose has 54 shells. It's extremely important that we begin in the lower grade levels, that we have students include those units when answering the problem in a complete sentence. So here the units are shells. The answer of 54 is not sufficient. We need to make sure students include the unit shells. Because as students progress into higher level math courses and they start taking addressing algebra, they're going to realize that 2x plus 5x is 7x, that it's not 7. So that unit of x is very important to keep with the solution of the problem. So 27 shells plus 27 shells is 54 shells. That's extremely important that we help our students understand that they need to include in it not only in their solutions, their answers, but in their explanations as well. And we begin this in our primary program in kindergarten. And whether students are writing out the word shells, which I doubt, but they could be using little pictures to get this message across. And at the end of every lesson in our primary grades, we have a write about it or a talk it over. And this is where students can explain their reasoning, share their strategies with one another. Here's another example in grade 3 where we begin again with the word problem, where we want students to make sense of the word problem. And then we're modeling mathematics. We're modeling it not only with words, but we're modeling it pictorially. We need students to make the connection from the word problem to the pictorial representation. From the pictorial representation, we need students to make connections to the equation. From the equation, we need students to make connection to the number lines and the skips and the skip counting on the number line. So these are different ways in which we are modeling with mathematics. Showing multiple representation of a skill will definitely help students, it will definitely help students lead to fluency. So that's extremely important for Common Core because on the exams, students are going to be asked to explain their reasoning. So no longer is find the product as a direction line acceptable. I would add to that direction line almost every direction line that I give our students. I would say find the product. Show me 2 ways. Explain your answer. Prove to me or justify your answer in 2 ways. Some students may write the equation and draw a picture. Some students may show the skips on a number line. Some students may just show the skip counting. That's all important information for students to be able to explain and put down in writing, because if students can explain their reasoning and justify their answer, then they've conceptualized. So this is where Common Core is going, and we provide this here on in every student lesson. So I know in the past we would move quickly through this just to be happy that our students knew our multiplication facts, but that's no longer acceptable with Common Core. What Common Core is, we want students to connect the multiple representations, that's the modeling mathematics, and be able to explain their reasoning and attend to precision using the correct academic vocabulary, including the correct units when solving a problem. So here, using the appropriate tool, the number line is an appropriate tool. So I should point that out as well. And here's an example in grade 5. Again, we begin with a word problem where we're addressing MP1, making sense of problems. We're connecting the word problem to an equation. We're showing multiple representations of a problem. From the equation, we represent the equation using place value models. And then through the step-by-step presentation of how to solve the problem using the correct algorithm, adding the correct decimal places. And so here you'll see off to the side here, I've identified the instruction as addressing MP 7 and 8. And the reason why I've identified MP 7 and 8 as being addressed here is because when students get to this lesson in grade 5, for whatever reason, the decimals, students start to say, oh, I don't know how to do this, it's decimals. Well, we need to make sure our students see that structure in the addition algorithm. They were taught the addition algorithm in the primary grades, where students learned how to start with the rightmost place value and add from right to left, regrouping when necessary. And they've done that through many years. So through repeated reasoning, through repeated patterning, through the many years and many times of adding using the addition algorithm, they should see the same structure is here for when they add decimals, that they're going to start with the rightmost place value and they're going to add from right to left, regrouping when necessary. So this connection is what Common Core wants us to make and help students see. And again, we answer the problem in a complete sentence, including units. And I always like to take some time here and just focus on the sentence here of solving the problem, where it says David has 97/100ths of a meter of wood. It's really important for our students to be able to read the decimal using the correct academic vocabulary, again, MP6, and not David has 0.97 meters of wood. I have a daughter who's in 8th grade, and I remember last year she came home with homework assignment with decimals, and I asked her to read me the decimal. And she said, Ma, come on. And I said, no, really, please, read me the decimal. She did, but she struggled because it wasn't a habit of mind. So for us, it's a habit of mind. When I read that sentence, I say David has 97/100 meters of wood. But for students, they want to take the shortcut. Common Core does not want students to take the shortcut. Common Core wants students to use the correct academic vocabulary, because by seeing that as 97/100ths, it should make sense in the context of the problem. They should be able to see what that actually means. So actually, when I was doing homework with my daughter last year and she had a decimal, and I'm just going to use 97/100ths as an example, I said to my daughter, Lisa, I said, close your eyes. Do you see a 100 grid? She says, yes. Do you see 97 squares shaded in? Yes. Do you see that's almost one? Oh, yeah, that's almost one whole. Oh, I see. David has almost 1 meter of wood. And so that's what Common Core wants us to do, is decontextualize the math. Take the math out of the problem. Do you understand what 97 hundredths means? Yes. Now put it back in the problem, and do you understand what 97 hundredths of a meter of wood means? And does it make sense in the context of the problem? And again, that's attending to precision. That's reasoning abstractly and quantitatively, and that's what Common Core is asking us to do. So I've taken you through just 3 lessons of our program, but it's very consistent, kindergarten through 8th grade, where our instructional, our pedagogy, our step-by-step explanation, how you are hitting the standards for mathematical practice when you are teaching our lessons. And again, go back to that one slide where I had, if you are teaching mathematics, the standards are automatic. Because if we're teaching for conceptual understanding, that students will be able to conceptualize math and understand math. So I go back to that we are a solid program, and that progress in mathematics has always been grounded in the same principles as Common Core. And what I mean by that is progress in mathematics has always been grounded on helping students conceptualize math through focus on a particular skill or concept, through the coherence, making connections within the grade level and across the grade level, and rigor, leading students to fluency and applying mathematics in the real world. And these are the 3 shifts in mathematics. There's focus, coherence, and rigor. Okay, so let's start with focus. And what did progress in mathematics do for focus? We actually had a third-party review our program in light of Common Core when the standards came out in 2010. And what we did is we identified every lesson in our program that strictly addresses the Common Core state standards. And so these are in this table of contents is in your new Teacher's Edition, Transitioning to Common Core. In the second tab, you have your table of contents. So again, we've identified every lesson that addresses Common Core with a C. So you might wonder, you might ask yourself, or I know I've had many people ask, well, what do I do with these other lessons that are not identified with a C? Well, Common Core is still evolving, and you will see that there are many skills that are not identified in the Common Core state standards that our students need in order for them to be successful with the Common Core state standards. So, for example, in grade 2, there's a standard on solving real-world problems involving money. Well, nowhere in the Common Core state standards in kindergarten, 1st grade, or 2nd grade are there standards on identifying the value of a coin, identifying the value of a group of coins, identifying the value of a group of coins and bills. Those lessons are here. So these lessons are here for our students because they will need them for the Common Core state standards. We also then added additional lessons to the program to strengthen our correlation based on the recommendation from a third party. These lessons were mainly focused on models and strategies because Common Core that's mainly the focus of Common Core is models and strategies. These lessons are available online, and we've put them in the back of our new student workbooks. There's a new Common Core section in the back of our workbook. So these lessons, again, that are identified with the Common Core logo, focus on strictly the Common Core, but there's additional support for our students should they need it because a lot of prerequisite skills are not identified in the Common Core state standards. Okay. So the second shift is coherence, where we want students to connect to prior learning, connect across the grade levels, and again within the grade level. So I know that we have a lot of seasoned teachers using our program, and they don't rely on our Teacher Edition anymore, but I would really encourage them to go back to use our 5-step lesson plan because the first part of the step 1 in our lesson plan is our lesson readiness. And here's where we're connecting prerequisite skills to the upcoming content of the lesson. And we need our students to be able to make the connection that these are the standards, or this is the content that they need in order to know the content of the lesson. Coherence across the grade level. Here is a multiplication lesson in grade 3. Again, in the earlier grades, we taught our children, our students, place value. In teaching the multiplication algorithm, it's no longer acceptable to say that 6 times 2 is 12. We want our students to say 6 times 2 ones equals 12 ones. We want our students to make the connection to the meaning of multiplication, the number of groups and the number of each group. So there are 6 groups of 2 ones. And so this academic vocabulary is in the teaching of the lesson. And what Common Core is saying is slow down, make sure students really understand what is being asked here and not just to skip over it, and be satisfied that they know that 6 times 2 is 12. Coherence across the grade level. Here's another example. We begin in grade 3, and we're introducing our multiplication facts. But we need our students to build on their knowledge that they learned in the primary grades, skip counting. So they need to be able to connect their skills of skip counting and apply that to multiplication facts. Then from the multiplication facts in grade 3, we need students to apply that to the multiplication algorithm and help students see that they are using those multiplication facts when they are multiplying, when they are doing 2-digit multiplication. And then, again, see that structure when they're multiplying decimals and apply that knowledge from grade 4. So this is the coherence. Now we see this, but we need our students to be able to see it, so to make sure that they see the connection, so that each grade level is not taught, the standards, I should say, at each grade level are not taught as an isolated event. That it's really these standards or these lessons are just an extension of previous learning. And I could show you, if I had our books out, I could take every skill and concept and show you how it's built across the grade levels. But it's not good enough for me to know that. We need our students to be able to know that. And here's another example of across the grade level coherence is in our 6th grade program, where we're teaching them 1-step equations, and we're applying that knowledge to 2-step equations in grade 7, and then applying that knowledge again to multi-step equations in grade 8. Again, so we want our students to make these connections and not teach this as isolated topics at each grade level. So Rigor has multiple components to it. The first one that I'm going to talk about is Fluency, where we want students to quickly and accurately solve addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division facts. And showing multiple representations of a skill or a concept will lead to fluency. So remember I talked earlier about modeling, and that it's not only using concrete objects, but also words and symbols and numbers, diagrams, tables, graphs, and formulas. When I look at this lesson, it's so chock full of great mathematics that we don't want to skip. We don't want to not skip it, but we don't want to move fast through it. We want to make sure our students make the connections. The lemons on this page are not just a pretty picture. We need our students to make the connection, read the word problem, make sure that they can connect that word problem to the pictorial representation, from the pictorial representation connect it to the equation, from the equation connect it to the number line. So make that connection. So again, find the product is not enough. Find the product. Justify your answer showing me 2 ways, whether in words, numbers, pictures, using a number line, or even showing a pattern in where we have this pattern table here on the right. So fluency is the first part of Rigor. The second part of Rigor is deep understanding. Vocabulary development helps to foster deep understanding. So using the correct academic vocabulary, again, MP6, attending to precision, is key in our students' explanation of math concepts. So just call attention to these highlighted words that are defined on the page. We have the audio glossary available online at progressandmathematics.com. I hope our students are going there. It's available in English and Spanish. And we do have a whole page of vocabulary development in the middle school program. Good questioning leads to deep understanding. Again, if students can explain their reasoning, then they've conceptualized math. So I just pulled out a couple in our program that I thought was they were really good questions, and really this is where Common Core is saying take the time to discuss them and make sure students share their reasoning and share their ideas, because there's research out there that proves that students learn best from their peers because they put it in a language that they understand. So it's important to have a collaborative classroom and have students really share and reason, explain, and talk about math. Deep understanding, we're still under deep understanding. A lot of times, I know because we're pressed for time and wish we could spend the entire day on math because math is my love, but some of these features they're skipped. And I would encourage our users really not to skip these features because they do foster deep understanding and they do promote higher level thinking. So we have these features sprinkled throughout the program that I would encourage you to use as much as possible. Here we are. We're in the third part of Rigor. We just did Fluency, so now we are under application. So in our primary grades, in the Teacher's Edition, we have application. We have our math centers where these activities connect the content of the chapter to other disciplines. So I would encourage our teachers to use them as well. This, if I could say, is one of the biggest goals of Common Core, is where we want our students to be confident problem solvers and be able to model mathematics in the real world. And when they say model mathematics in the real world, they mean solving a problem in the real world. So we have a very strong problem-solving strategy that actually permeates our program, kindergarten through 8th grade. We begin in the primary grades with the read and write and math lessons, where we ask students to use their reading skills, or I'm going to say in quotes, to code a word problem. We take them step by step on through what the problem is asking for and how to solve it, and that's our read and write and math lessons. Our strategy lessons, we provide students with multiple strategies throughout the program and take them through and introduce them, I should say, through the 4-step problem-solving model. Read, plan. In the primary grades, it's write. In the upper grades, it's solve, and then check. We need these 4 problem-solving steps to stick with our students for life. We want students to understand the problem, whether it's a written problem or some type of problem that they faced with in real life, and really think about what the problem's asking for, read it carefully, plan an entry point into solving the problem, and then solve the problem correctly, and then go back and make sure that their answer makes sense in the context of the problem. So we provide students with many strategies throughout the program, but these are not strategies. They're not the only strategy. Students may come up with their own, and Common Core encourages that as well. So the application lessons are really, again, one of my favorite lessons, because here, these lessons in the program, and I hope they're not skipped because they really are very good, are asking our students to solve problems when not explicitly told how to do so. So what I mean by that is I'm not in an addition lesson and I'm going to pull out the numbers and I'm going to add. I'm not in a division lesson. I'm going to pull out the lessons and divide. Students actually have to, MP1, make sense of the problem. Choose a strategy. Choose a strategy from the strategy file, or if one doesn't work, persevere in solving the problem. Choose another one, or create your own, and then solve the problem accurately using the correct academic procedures and vocabulary, and then checking their answer. So our problem-solving strand is extremely important part of the program. We also have many opportunities throughout the program to apply math to the sciences, to the arts, and to technology. So going back to the beginning slide that I showed you, that Progress in Mathematics is really surrounded is a solid math program. It has solid math pedagogy, and that is where you're going to find your depth and breadth of the Common Core State Standard. But we've surrounded it with companion programs, the first being the student workbooks. And as I mentioned before, we have brand new student workbooks. They are available for all grade levels. Just as we did in the Teacher's Edition, we've identified all the Common Core lessons, the practice pages that specifically address Common Core with the Common Core logo. And it's important to note that we did not eliminate practice for all the other lessons because, as I mentioned, our students will need them because the Common Core state standards are meant to be interpreted and not seen as a checklist. So we also have a Common Core section at the back of the workbook, and here's where we added additional lessons and practice that focus on key Common Core state standards, and they emphasize modeling and strategies. They're also available online at progressinmathematics.com. So after our lessons, we have additional practice pages for all those additional Common Core lessons that we've added. They follow the same format as the workbook pages, but it's important to note that these practice pages are not available online. They're only available in the workbook. We've added performance tasks to the back of every workbook. There are 3 per grade level. They review a cluster of the Progress in Mathematics chapters and the Common Core state standards. And these, I think, are our attempt at exposing students to the types of performance tasks that they're going to find on the new state assessments and Park and Smarter assessments. In the Teacher's Edition, the Common Core state standard that's addressed in the practice page of the lesson is identified on the page. The next thing that we've created or developed to support the Progress in Mathematics program is the Online Student Assessment System. The Online Student Assessment System is a web-based assessment system where teachers can create worksheets specifically around the Common Core state standards. So I can come in and create a worksheet, a quiz, or an assignment based on a Common Core state standard. I can assign this assignment to students to take online. Students can also take these assignments in print form. If students take these assignments online, they're automatically scored and their results are recorded in the grade book for the program. And teachers can then generate proficiency reports or an abundance of different reports that are available based on student results. So I'd like to offer you a 14-day trial to review, because to me the best way to review a program is to actually get into it and play with it and see if it has all the features that you need. So at the end of the presentation, if you are interested, just email me with your school name and the grade level. It's available for grades 1 through 6 that you'd like to preview. As I mentioned, this online student assessment system is where you can build a test based specifically on the Common Core state standards. So here you could tell me, show me all the standards that are available in grade 3. So here is a list of the standards that are available for grade 3, and I could say, build me a test on grade 3 operations in algebra, maybe standard 3. And the computer will automatically build me a test. You're seeing the teacher view, so you're seeing the answers here, and you're also seeing multiple choice items. But please know that there are over 15 different question types available for this system. And here's a sample proficiency report that you can generate based on the results, based on student results. So what's nice about this is it lists the Common Core state standards that were assessed in that assignment, and it identifies the students that are, what it tells me is that I know that 9 of my 9 students who took that assessment are proficient with grade 1 operations in algebra, grade standard 1, but it also identifies those students who are not proficient with those standards. So now I know I can go back and customize my instruction or maybe build additional worksheets for those specific students. The next component that we've surrounded Progress in Mathematics with is our website, progressinmathematics.com. And on our website, we have an abundance of resources, and I hope our students and teachers are taking advantage of our free resources. My favorite are virtual manipulatives, because that's at the heart of Common Core. We want our students to be able to help. We want to help students visualize mathematics. So here, when I come down into this multiplication of fractions application, if I project this on an interactive whiteboard, I can come up to the board, or I can have students come up to the board and move this lever up or down to change the factors of the expression, and then the model will change accordingly. So here's where we'll start to see those aha moments, and students can actually visualize mathematics and start to talk about why it actually makes sense of mathematics. We also have our timed math games. This is one, again, another area of Common Core where we want to lead students to fluency in addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So there's some great resources online. And then the program that's currently in development is a new Common Core Progress Mathematics program. This is a supplemental program. We have it available for not only mathematics but also English language arts. It is a K-8 supplement. It does not take the place of our basal program. It's intended to complement, I should say, the instruction of progress in mathematics. It's flexible use. We intend it to be used for either small group instruction or individual support, or to prepare for the new state assessments. There are an assortment of components that come with this program. The student work text, which is consumable, and I'm going to walk you through a sample lesson shortly. A teacher's edition, which provides teaching strategies for teaching the lesson. The online assessment system, which I just walked you through really I just gave you a brief description of the online student assessment system, but it will also be available for this program. So what's nice about it is the online student assessment system, you can come at it Common Core from two ways. You can come at it from the sequence of our program, or you can come at it using this program from the sequence of the Common Core state standards. We'll have an assessment booklet with 5 benchmark assessments, 4 summative and formative, I should say, and 1 summative assessment, and also an abundance of online resources. So the table of contents, as I mentioned, covers 100% of the Common Core state standard. They're clearly identified in the table of contents. And when you're using, how will we anticipate it to be used is if you are using our Progress in Mathematics program, and this is in the table of contents from grade 3, and your students need additional coverage for a particular skill, a particular topic of Common Core, they can come over to the Common Core Progress Mathematics program table of contents and find the same lesson, not the same lesson, I should say, a lesson that would complement the instruction in Progress in Mathematics. We will be providing a crosswalk on how to use this new supplement program with the product, with Progress in Mathematics. So when you're in this lesson in Progress in Mathematics, when to go to the supplement for additional support. So as I mentioned, each unit focuses on the Common Core domains. They're focused on Common Core domains and begins with a home connect and an essential question, which I will get into shortly. The lessons are logically sequenced and focus on specific, we've given special attention, I should say, to specific Common Core state standards. So I'm sorry my circle moved here, but you could see that there are actually 3 lessons, or 2 lessons, I should say, on grade 3 operations in algebra, and you'll see the emphasis here on operations in algebra standard 5 as well. At the end of every unit, there's a Common Core review and a unit performance task as well. There will be mid-year performance tasks, end-of-year performance tasks, and my favorite part about the table of contents is this foundational handbook. As I've mentioned several times throughout my presentation, Common Core, there are standards that are not mentioned in Common Core that are needed. I should say prerequisite skills that are needed to address Common Core. This foundational handbook will address these prerequisite skills. So at the back of every book, there will be a foundational handbook that addresses the prerequisite skills necessary for the grade level. They'll be, in the form of mini lessons. At the beginning of every unit is a progress check, and this check outlines how the Common Core state standards are developed across the grade levels. So if you are familiar with the Common Core Mathematics Progressions document, this addresses the progressions document. This also addresses coherence. This is what Common Core is saying. We need students to be able to make connections from one grade level to the next. So this is a grade 3 unit. So in the grade 2, in the previous years, it identifies what knowledge students should come to this grade with this grade level to address the content of the standards. It's a diagnostic assessment for students to say, do I know this before the unit? Oh, I hopefully know it at the end of the unit. And it also identifies where students are going, how these standards are connected to content in the upcoming grade level. On the back, because as I said, this is a consumable program, on the back page of the Progress Check is a Home Connect. And here's where we're going to try and get encourage our families to take an active role in the child's learning. What I love about this page is the Progress Check is on the back of it. So that progression of skills will also go home to parents. So parents will also know what students are being held accountable for. Every unit begins with an engaging opener, which puts the content of the unit in a real-world setting. It begins with it also includes, I should say, with an essential question, where here we're addressing MP2 and 3. We're reasoning and explaining. And the essential question, I like to think of this essential question as the big idea type essential question, because there will be many essential questions within the lessons to help lead up to helping students answer the unit essential question. Again, it sets the focus of the unit. The instructional design is such that it focuses on the gradual release of responsibility model, the guided instruction, guided practice, independent practice. So this is the I do, we do together, and you do independently type model. As I mentioned before, every lesson begins with an essential question, which sets the focus of the lesson, and the Common Core state standards are identified at point of use. Again, you're addressing here MP2 and 3, reasoning and explaining. Words to know, the academic vocabulary is clearly identified in the lesson, and this is where we're attending to precision, encouraging students to use the correct academic vocabulary, especially when they are explaining their answers. So when we get into the instructional model of the lesson, it begins with a series of understand presentations. And what we did is we took the Common Core state standard and we broke it down into bite-sized pieces, or bite-sized manageable pieces that students can understand. And here's where we're modeling the standard. We're modeling mathematics, MP4. And so here's a lesson on understanding unit fractions. So the first understand presentation is on the meaning of a unit fraction. The second and third understand presentation is breaking it down. Here's the meaning of a numerator. Here's our explanation on the meaning of a denominator. The understand presentations mostly are introduced with real-world problems. So here we're, again, attending to, I should say, making sense of problems. We're also modeling problems, whether we're using pictorial representations or concrete objects or numbers or symbols. And we're also using a tool, fraction strips are our tool, MP5, in the presentation of in the understand presentations. All the understands lead to a connect presentation. And the connect presentation brings the Common Core state standards together and asks students to demonstrate what they know about the content standard and helps build knowledge for answering the essential question. We also have remember features throughout the program. And here is where, again, we're tapping students' knowledge, prior knowledge, and this is coherence. This is what Common Core is asking for, making sure students make connections. The guided practice is where we will take students step by step through similar type problems that we just did in the instruction, the guided instruction. And every guided practice always ends with a think, pair, share. And here is where we're asking students to think independently about mathematics. Then work with a partner, work with a small group, work with a class, share your ideas, share your strategies, explain your reasoning, MP2 and 3. Independent practice. There's an abundance of independent practice that's scaffolded throughout the program, and it involves cognitively demanding type questions. Here's a closer look at some of the problems that are in the independent practice. Here's where we're asking students to model unit fractions, and we're focusing on the focus of this lesson is really identifying the whole, because we're asking students to draw a picture what the whole might look like. So my picture for 1 quarter may look very different than your picture for 1 quarter. And this is where we want that collaborative effort, that discussion, that explaining the reasoning, and asking students to see the structure in the concept of a fraction. So again, a really good exercise here that involves MP 4, 7, and 8. We're going to have many compare and contrast type exercises throughout the program, asking students to explain their reasoning. Robert Marzano said, his research shows that the #1 way students learn is comparing and contrasting. And so again, we're asking students to explain and reason about mathematics. Oh, I was on a roll. So I'm trying to advance my slide. So we're going to move on to, here we go, asking students to justify their answer. Again, it's a very big part of the new assessments where students have to explain their reasoning. So again, I really would tack on this direction line to any program, any exercise that we might be giving our students. Justify your answer using words, pictures, or numbers, because if students can justify their answers, then they conceptualize mathematics. At the end of every unit is our Common Core review. And again, this reviews the Common Core state standards of the unit. And these questions will mirror the questions that will be on the Park Smarter Terra Nova Common Core sample items. And you'll start to hear terminology like TEI, like items. And what that stands for is Technology Enhanced Items, because as you probably know, the assessments, the end-of-year assessments will be given online. So they will be technology-enhanced items. So we need to expose our students to what we call technology-enhanced like items, items that they would most likely see online in the new assessments. So here is one where students have to use their critical thinking skills. It's very different from the multiple choice type items that our students have been exposed to in the past, where actually they have to read the direction line and not just find one answer. They actually have to analyze each answer choice and then circle each one that applies. Here's a TEI-like item where students have to actually draw a point on the number line to label these fractions. And why it's a TEI-like item is because on the online assessments, students are going to have to click and drag and drop the fraction onto the appropriate spot on the number line. So drawing a point and labeling the point on the number line is equivalent to the technology-enhanced item that students will find in the new assessments with dragging and dropping. Okay, so we are coming to the end of this presentation, and I'm sure you can't see my arrow spinning, but my computer is spinning. And I hope that you've seen through this program that our new Common Core Progress program will help build knowledge towards the Common Core state standards, integrates the standards for mathematical practice. So again, we have surrounded Progress in Mathematics, our core solid program, with abundance of companion pieces that address the Common Core state standards. So with that, Jillian, and I do apologize to everybody for the technical difficulties I was having with advancing my slides. I do not know why my computer froze. But with that, Jillian, I'm going to open it up to any questions we might have.
Sure, there are a couple. How much time should a kindergarten teacher spend on each lesson? Is there a recommended amount of time?
So that is a really good question. Given the 180 days and given the focus on what Common Core has done is limited, I should say, the topics that are covered in every grade level. There's no set time. I think what Common Core is really saying is that by the end of kindergarten, we need our students to be fluent with facts to 5, and we need to take as much time as possible for our students to lead them to fluency. I do not, unfortunately, I think the time varies. It depends on the ability level of your class. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for that, but we will have some pacing suggestions with the new Common Core Progress program. But know that given that Common Core has narrowed the focus of the curriculum down, I think you're going to be able to spend more time on number and the facts at kindergarten. So I'm sorry. I wish it was a better answer, but more just thanks.
Is there at any time going to be a kindergarten version of online student assessment system for mathematics?
I do not know. I will put that that question into our development team and see. At this point, I do not know. I know that for the new Common Core Progress program, there will be their online student assessment system. But for Progress and Mathematics, I'm not quite sure. So you might be able to come at it from the new companion program, Common Core Progress. So yeah, in a roundabout way, yes, it will be available through the online student assessment system through Common Core Progress.
Great. And is there a correlation to the Common Core state standards to Progress in Mathematics?
Yes. So that's a great question. I apologize for not mentioning it during my presentation. But Jillian, if you wouldn't mind typing in the chat box,
Sure.
If you go to sadlier.com/preview PIMCC, you will find two correlations there, one to the Common Core state standards and one to the standards of mathematical practice. So just as I broke down how we were addressing the standards for mathematical practice in the teaching of the lesson, we provided you with that correlation at that website. But it's also available at progressonmathematics.com. So there's two ways that you could access the correlations, at the sadlier.com preview PIMCC and at progressonmathematics.com.
Great. And will the new Common Core Progress when will the new Progress in Math be available?
So the new Progress in Mathematics program will be available this fall. I'm sorry that my screen keeps showing that. It'll be available this fall. I don't have an exact date, but I know kindergarten through 5th grade should be ready, I'm going to say, by September, October of this year, and 6th through 8th a little later in the year. But definitely by the end of the year, the entire program will be here, will be out.
And what is the cost of the new program?
So the cost of the new program, if you are a user of Progress in Mathematics, I would suggest that you contact your local representative, because we are offering special bundling prices with the purchase of Progress in Mathematics and the Common Core Progress program. So if you're not sure who your local representative is, just email me and I will point you in the right direction. But we do not, right now, I don't have an exact price, but there are great bundling offers I know that they're having with Progress in Mathematics.
Great. And for one last question, would you provide teacher training at our school on how to address the Common Core state standards and the standards of mathematical practice to Progress in Math?
Yes, absolutely. So we would come into your school free of charge and would train your your teachers on how to implement the standards for mathematical practice and the Common Core state standards through our consultant services team. Again, if you would just email me that this is something that you would be interested in, I would point you in the right direction.
And that seems to be it with questions.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to spend with me today and talk about Progress in Mathematics and Common Core. I hope it was informative, and I do apologize for our little technical difficulties. Thank you.